Weekend Edition, July 8, 1947. The Army Air Forces has announced that a flying disc has been found and is now in the possession of the Army. Army officers say the missile, found sometime last week, has been inspected at Roswell, New Mexico, and sent to Wright Field, Ohio, for further inspection.
July 1947. In the desert outside Roswell, New Mexico, something came down out of the sky. Not a plane, not a satellite, not anything officially acknowledged to exist at the time. What happened next would become one of the most disputed events in modern history. Because for a brief moment, the United States military told the public exactly what they had found. And then they took it back. It started on a remote ranch nearly 75 miles north of Roswell. A rancher named Mac Brazel was checking his land when he came across something unusual. Debris scattered across a vast stretch of desert. Not concentrated, not contained. Spread out as if something had broken apart in the air and fallen over distance. At first, it didn't seem important, but the material didn't behave the way it should. Thin sheets of metallic substance, light enough to lift easily, but impossible to permanently bend. You could crumple it in your hand, and it would return to its original shape without a crease. There were also structural pieces, small beams or supports, some of them marked with strange symbols, not letters, not numbers, repeating patterns that didn't resemble anything from known language systems at the time. Brazel didn't know what he was looking at, so he did what anyone in that situation might do. He reported it. Within hours, the local sheriff contacted Roswell Army Airfield, and from that moment on, the situation escalated quickly. Military personnel arrived at the site. The debris was collected. The area was secured. And then something happened that, even now, stands out as one of the most unusual moments in the entire case. On July 8, 1947, the Roswell Army Airfield issued an official press release. It stated that they had recovered a flying disc. The statement was sent to newspapers. It was printed. It spread. And then, within hours, it was reversed. The military retracted the claim. The flying disc became a weather balloon. New photographs were released. Officers were shown posing with debris that looked far more ordinary. Rubber, wood, foil. The story had changed completely. And just like that, the incident was closed. Officially. For decades, that version held. No major public investigations, no confirmations, no follow-ups. Just a single corrected mistake, filed away and forgotten. Until, years later, people started talking. Former military personnel, witnesses, individuals who claimed to have been present or involved or close enough to see something they weren't supposed to see, and their accounts didn't match the official explanation. Not even close. Some described a craft, not debris scattered randomly, but structured wreckage, material that looked engineered, designed. Others went further. They claimed there were bodies, small, humanoid, not consistent with any known human anatomy, transported under heavy security, handled with urgency, and surrounded by strict orders to remain silent. These statements were not made all at once. They came out over time, in interviews, in recorded testimony, in quiet conversations that only later became public. Then there's the material itself, descriptions of metal that could not be cut, could not be burned, could not be deformed in any permanent way. Today, materials exist that can do some of these things. But in 1947, those capabilities were not publicly known. Decades later, the U.S. government revisited the case. They introduced a new explanation: Project Mogul, a classified program involving high-altitude balloons designed to detect Soviet nuclear tests. It accounted for secrecy. It explained unusual debris. And, on the surface, it made sense. But it didn't explain everything. It didn't explain why trained military personnel would initially identify the material as a flying disc. It didn't explain the consistency of certain witness accounts. And it didn't address the most controversial claims at all. In 1997, another report attempted to close that gap. The bodies, it said, were not extraterrestrial. They were test dummies, used in high-altitude experiments. But there was a problem. Those experiments took place years after 1947. The timeline didn't match, and for many, that raised more questions than it answered. So what actually happened in Roswell? Was it a classified military project, misidentified and then corrected? Was it a breakdown in communication, amplified by media attention? Or was it something else entirely, something briefly revealed, and then deliberately hidden? More than 70 years later, Roswell remains unresolved. Not because there are no explanations, but because there are too many. Conflicting accounts, shifting narratives, missing pieces. Somewhere between official statements and personal testimony, between evidence and interpretation, there is a version of events that is true. The question is whether it was ever meant to be known. And if it wasn't, then maybe Roswell isn't just a mystery. Maybe it's a moment where the truth surfaced and was immediately buried.